So today we're going to look at the Byllstore profile ribs or pottery ribs. We got 6 of them. We got 4 texture ribs and 2 profile ribs, or what they're calling foot trimming tools. So I used these yesterday. My audio didn't record, so I'm recording it again because one of the most important cameras didn't work. But I'm noticing just now sitting down, that is a little bit different. I've used this one time and it warped like that. I'm not sure what accounts for that. I used these yesterday. It was the first time I've used them. And it looks like the profile ones, or the trimming tools, did it. That one is a little bit, so I don't know. They're still gonna work, but I just don't like that happened all of a sudden. All right, let's do this. So the first thing I do when I am, oh, we got a little spider in here. Come on, little guy. First thing I gotta do is, when I'm using this tile spinner, I wanna get it good and stuck to that bat. So you wanna make sure that the tile bat is not at all wet when you slap that clay down, or you just place it down. You don't have to slap it down. And I usually cone up a few times, because this is just straight out of the bag. I just sliced it up into, it's a 25-pound bag, and I sliced it into 24 somewhat equal parts. They're all about a pound each. Where are my tools? And then you open it up with 2 thumbs, V it out real wide, flatten out that base, get it good and flat. You're gonna be about between 1/4 and 1/2 inch deep between you and the bat, or the wheel head. And then you slow it down a little bit, make it a little tough to clay, and you pull that clay up and in, make a volcano shape. That's the shape you want, because centripetal force will make it want to go out. And you can always go out, but it's harder to go back in. Okay, so we'll start off with this one. Now notice that if it's this shape is different than this shape. If you'll notice here at the bottom, see how that has that little, almost like a foot built in, that goes straight to the bottom. So like if you're using this bulging one, the bottom of this is different than the bottom of this. And it's just important. I noticed a few times yesterday, I did this yesterday, but one of my cameras wasn't working. I picked it up, I did it, I put it down, I got it real slick, and I did it again, and I used it upside down. What I thought was the same way, but they're not symmetrical. So don't think that they're symmetrical. Okay, let's do this one first. So I'm using this hand to kind of just go up the sides real slow like. Get that all the way out. Okay. And then I will just clean up that base a little bit. Now there's 2 ways to clean up this. You can either take your sponge if you got a big opening and it's real easy and you don't have a lot of work there at the base, and you can do that, or okay. What do you think about that shape? That's a good shape, huh? I like that shape. Okay, that's one shape. My boy's having a hard time with the doggy barking in there. That's no good. He's very sensitive to audio, sounds and stuff, so that's hard for him. The dog's barking. He's always had special sensitivities to sound, and it kind of comes and goes. When we were living overseas, I remember we couldn't go to a restaurant because he'd hear silverware clinking and he would get so upset. So we didn't do that very much. But he grew out of that, and it's taken other forms over the years. Okay, make a little hole in the middle. Fill it with some water. Open up that hole, V it out. Let's get that base really, push it down, compress that base real good so you won't have any cracking. And then we're gonna volcano it back in, collar it back in. And we're just gonna pull it up and in till we get a good, looks about right. Okay, I'm gonna get just a, all right. Let's try this one with the little bulges. Now again, it's not symmetrical, so this has a foot down there, and this has a arc. So I'm gonna use this one because I actually have a flat part down here. I'm gonna remember that when I come back the other way. And just take your time, and you kind of want the, when you're using profile ribs, now this is technically a texture rib that people use as a profile rib. Pull it off real slow so you don't mess anything up. Now, these, sometimes you don't want a little extra on the top. So I'm just gonna take, get your lip a little bit wet, get your hands wet so you can real slick, and then I'm going real slowly in here till I feel it break through, and then I'm gonna stop, just lift off. And there you go. Okay, now with this slurry in the base, I think I mentioned in the last spot, you can either sponge it out or put a little extra in there. Use this pry tool and pry it up. And my daughter calls this the Dairy Queen. You flip it upside down, and that gets all the little chunkies out there. Now you can see I had a little, but that's a cool shape. Do you like that shape? That'll look really cool with some glazes. Now, when the glaze hits this, it's going to look different on the top of that than when it's sloping in. When it's sloping out, it'll look different than sloping in. And, you know, in that crack, there'll be different colors too. So this will be really beautiful. Have a really beautiful look to it. Let's keep on going. Sometimes when you lift up your, if I don't clean my tiles very often, so sometimes on the base, this one's pretty clean, but it has a lot of chunks on there. So sometimes when you pick your tile up, you'll have those old chunks on there. And a few little ones is not a big deal, but it can be, okay, so making a hole, fill it with water, V it out, press that base down. If you want to, grab a flat rib and get it really flat. Keep pressing that base a little more. If you're feeling extra cool, give it a little swirl. A lot of potters think that's not cool, but I think it's super cool because I see that pattern everywhere in creation and I just love it. Okay, way higher than we need to go, but that's okay. Because we'll make this one a little bit like a honey jar. Here's the third side. And again, so we're going to do the bulge out here, kind of like a honey pot. I'm going to use this flat. This would be hard to get flat consistently. This is the side I'm going to use. Okay, I want to make sure my profile rib hand is anchored into my body. I'm gonna slow it on down. And again, you're just moving your hand up little by little. Put that side there, and you kind of... Oh, see, I did it again. That happens. You can usually let a few revolutions go by and do it again, but it's generally not a deal breaker. Let's get this like the honey pot look here. Okay, again, you get the idea of what the shape looks like here. I'm not going to go too deep in detail on this. I like that shape. You know, you could cut it off right here, which if you wanted a pure concave shape, bulging shape, you could do that. But if you want a honey pot look, and I could also cut this off with the needle tool and make it really flat, but I'm not going to do that. Okay. And my first motion again is I'm squeezing my hands together, forcing this clay up, and then I'm pushing down pretty hard. This wall hand is anchored into my body, constraining it outwardly, and this hand is pushing down, constraining it vertically, and I'm trying to squeeze that clay into the center. That's why it's called centering. A lot of disciplines, the hardest thing comes like later on, but you know, Seth Godin wrote a book called The Dip, and it's talking about how you know, when you start anything, you have some early success, and then you hit the challenge. You know, you see promise, and then you have to slug it out a little bit, and that's usually the weeding out part. And a lot of people hit the dip when they are struggling to center, and they never really get it, and they never progress on beyond that. But really, I just say just get a lot of practice on it. And it gets really fun after you can center. Okay, last one is the hourglass. It looks like an hourglass. That's what my profile ribs are called, the hourglass. So again, this one is pretty symmetrical for the most part. Do you want to do this side or this side? Doesn't really matter. I'm going to do this side though. Actually, I'm going to do this side. You know, when I was starting out, when we moved back to the U.S., I was just starting to throw pots more and getting decent at it. My friend Jonathan Martin has a place in town called Black Oak Art. You may have seen it on the Magnolia Fixer Upper. We were all friends, acquaintances. Jonathan's a few years older. Joanna was a year older, and but that show had boosted their pottery business a lot. And he would pay me $1 a cylinder to make basically that shape right there for their Magnolia mugs. And I was so pleased with that because it was basically my therapy, you know. pottery was my therapy, cheaper than therapy. And I was just happy to be out here doing it, and getting $1 a cylinder was great. It was like getting paid to learn. These are the first 4 shapes here. Okay, so I'll take a picture of this, but these are the 4 shapes associated with this first group of texture ribs. I'm gonna keep this here, put this aside and do another one. Check my audio stuff over here, make sure we're good to go still. Test, 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 going well. Camera number side, still going strong. Camera number top, going well. Audio recording backup going well. Video wide shot going well. So we've got a lot of stuff going on here. There's so many things when you're doing video to check, you know. I used to work in video, but I was always more on the producer end. I wasn't I certainly wasn't in front of the camera, and I was rarely behind the camera. It was more just helping to manage the whole symphony. See how nicely these all stack in here? I just love having not infinite, but a lot of bats, you know. So I forget I have this overhead camera. When you're throwing pots, standard way is counterclockwise, and this is the quadrant you're mostly working. Is this bottom right corner, the bottom corner that's spinning away from you. If it was going clockwise, it'd be this corner. My thumb in there, make a little hole. This is Simon Leach taught me to throw when we were living in Malaysia, because I bought a potter's wheel to kind of decompress, and I would watch Simon Leach tell me how to do 7 steps to throwing a pot, and learned how to throw with Simon. Later, I got to meet Simon a few years later. Let's do this. Okay, so this is going to be not bulge out, but concave in, and we'll have these kind of sharp spikes here. I'll show you what I mean. All these shapes, you know, I wasn't as keen on them at first, but man, I kind of like them. Now again, this is a different shape. That is a different shape than that. I'm going to do this way. And take your time, let that getting in that sharp edge right there takes a little bit of time. So my finger now is in the third ridge, and now I'm going all the way up to the top. There we go. And we're done. You always want to finish off that lip. My chamois is like stuck in here. I don't know if you can see that. And it looks like it's been stuck in there a while, but that's what I use to smooth that thing out. All right, boom. What's going on down there? All right, that's a cool shape. You think? Is that a cool shape? Oop a daisy, oh no. Kind of rough up that clay. Put a little more down there. Keep on trucking. Doesn't take much. You know, the clay down there acts like grout for tiles. Tiles are held in by grout when you're laying them in your house or in a building. Yeah, you can hold the hand you're pulling up with a sponge in it, and that kind of helps keep things lubricated as well. Okay, we got the big ones. Now let's do slightly smaller. And you can see how wide that is down there. That's because I used this side that has that. If I would have used this side, it would not have that as much. But I can't redo it now. I need to stick with the side that I went with. But I wouldn't probably do that because that would be hard to probably give like a little. And you'd have to trim that base probably. What's going on down there? Some of that clay is getting a little hard, so I'm just gonna take it out and just put some fresh clay down. There it is. This is what I'm looking for right there. My new pry tool. My son's learned how to whistle really loud with his fingers or through his teeth. I mean, you can hear him in the background every once in a while. Again, way too tall, but no big deal. I'm just showing you the shapes. Okay, now let's get to the nitty-gritty, the smallest one. This one. Cool shape right there. And before you introduce the profile, okay, this last one is the wave. So you can see this is not the same as this. I'm going to do this one. Pull off real slow. Okay. I like that one. You guys like that one? I like that shape. Kind of curvy. All right. Let's take this one. We'll put a pin in this one. And we'll come back to it. We'll take some pictures to show everybody that there is a difference. Put this over here like that. Now these are 6x6 tiles. They're a dull tile, Restore Bright White. Restore Bright White dull tile. And the 6 of them fit on this is a fence picket, about $3 where I'm at. And you can fit 6 of these tiles on there at once. So that's a little bit slippery. We'll see if I can get it to stick on there. I might need to re-stick again. We'll see. Nope, it's good. Okay, this is rib number 3. This will be the 3rd texture rib is what they call it, but we're using them like a profile rib. The shape that's on each of these edges is becoming the profile of our vessel. So this one's fun. We'll do this one first. Now again, this will give you a different base than this. I'm going to do this one. Now I'm introducing it piece, little section by little section. I'm not trying to get the whole side to touch the whole profile rib at the same time. I'm working my way up so that's really just like one point at a time that's coming in contact with that before it's conformed. And that's how you get a good profile. I like that. I dig that. Now the slanting out facet side will give you a different glaze effect than the slanting back down inward. And that will produce some really cool glazes. That's fun. They did a good job with these. Right? Right. Of course, I gotta admit, after one use, that happening that's not my favorite. I'm not gonna put that in the review video, of course, but it shouldn't be doing that after one use, and I didn't even have it sitting in the water. So I don't know how that happened. I don't know. That feels like an excessive amount of warping. That's just for you guys on the YouTube. What is going on here? My favorite way to throw is having headphones in, whether I'm listening to a podcast or sermon or music. Music a lot of times does something real. I don't know what it is. In my older age, I haven't been as into music, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think I should be more into music, especially since one of my closest friends is like one of the best musicians in the world. It's a big statement, but Sean Cheek, webpianoteacher.com. He's got like perfect pitch. He's been making a living from, he and his wife Shauna were all friends from church. And yeah, I don't know why I haven't, because music is so powerful. It's like the most I've always felt like it was the most powerful of the arts. Okay, we got that one. Let's do the big angles. Again, this is going to produce a different side than that little ledge right there. I want that on top. Make sure I'm anchored in here. And then just working it up in those grooves little by little. Pretty darn cool. All right, so we did the 2 angles. Now let's do, oh, these are kind of funky. The big and the small squares. This is like the grout tool in Home Depot. Isn't that cool? That is a neat one. Cool. Put it here for right now. Okay, that one, that tile had some chunkies here, you can see. Okay, now this time we're going to do the little squares. And again, I'm going to start with this. The bottom that is, will create kind of like an external foot. Let it off real soft. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, that is really, that would do some really fun stuff with glazes. Okay, let's move this to the side and move on to rib number 3. 4, rather. Put the rib, so I'll take pictures of these in a bit so you guys can tell what's what. I'm gonna check my cameras here. Audio test, 1, 2. Audio test, 1, 2. Good. With having kind of crappy cameras, you always got to keep your eye on them. You never know when something's gonna crap out on you. Grab another wear board. We had another tornado warning today, touching down here in Waco areas. Yesterday there was one by Killeen, Fort Hood. And now it's like a beautiful day. So when you throw it down, a lot of times you don't get it in the center. And you can kind of scooch it over a little bit just with your hand. And then your first motion is putting your hands kind of together, squeezing it all together, causing it to come up, because you want your second motion to be pushing it down and getting it really secured to that tile bat down there. Okay, we got really wavy, less wavy, three waves, 2 waves. We'll start with really wavy and we'll work our way to just a little wave. Let off real nice and easy. It'll go oblong if you pull off too fast. I keep losing my tools, guys. I want that new pry tool I made. I don't know where it is. Okay, now look here. See right here? It's kind of, I didn't push it. I needed to push it out more on those angles. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to do it just a little bit more here. Oh, which side was I using? I think it was this one, yeah? Is that the one? That's the one. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I mean, because if you're not careful, you cannot get that all the way filled out. So you're going to push in those grooves. All the way fills out. Third from the top, second from the top, very top. Okay, that's better. Yeah, now it's, can you see that? It's a lot better now. Okay, now we'll go to less wavy. I'm going to do this one. Just this top part that kind of like flares out. That'll be better for the top. Make sure you're anchored in real good. And then just make sure you're kind of taking your time, getting each of those bulges filled all the way out. Oh, see, you can drag a little bit if you push it too hard. Oh, okay, that's not uncommon. So here's what I do. I like to kind of taper it back in a little bit. Do a few revolutions, rounding it out, regaining that shape, building that muscle memory again. And then let's push it not quite so hard this time. Which side did I? This side is what I was doing right here. There's no foul if you just take your time. Well, you can see this is another reason why you want it narrower at the top. You want to just slowly introduce that and keep it wet. So we're almost done. So I want you guys to see, I'm not going to say I did that on purpose because I totally didn't, but it is fixable when you do that. See that? There you go, no foul. Trying to find my pry tool. No foul. All right, now the 3. This is fairly symmetrical, so we'll just go with it. Nice, I like that shape too. And last but not least, on this rib anyway. Now the 2 after this are profile, like genuine profile ribs, or they're calling it a tool shape, a foot shaping tool. But it creates a profile in addition to the foot. Okay, last but not least, and you want the inside and the outside. You don't want there to be dry. You want them both to be wet. Now this one actually is pretty symmetrical, if you can see that. Oh, so y'all saw me push it in there a little too much. But y'all know the drill. This is how you kind of correct that. Get a few revolutions there. Make sure it's good and wet. And then let's do it again. So again, no foul. Just be patient. I mean, sometimes you foul it up and you just got to start over and you lose a few minutes, but you didn't really lose anything. Didn't lose any clay. You can reuse it. That's good. I like that. It's a cool shape. Okay. Put too much clay down there. Okay, now there'll just be 2 on each of these ribs, because these are profile or foot ribs. And again, they call them foot trimming ribs. They have a little foot on them, but they also have kind of the profile of a bowl shape. So okay. Now, I said this before, but I only used these one time yesterday, and it was totally flat. So I wish that hadn't happened. I don't know why that happened, but that's something going on. But from the profile, it doesn't change it that much. Just kind of adds a little bit of height. But we have the foot down here. The foot's going to angle in, and then we have a straight out. So this is kind of like a bowl. And I could have gone wider with this. Maybe the next one I will go wider with. I'm gonna pull that out here just a little bit. Kind of get that shape closer to our finished product here. Okay. So it's a cool little bowl. You can see how that foot goes in there, dips in, if you you can see that, guys. In. Okay, now we'll go on this side. This is kind of a straight up. Like a little wine tumbler, or if it was wider, it could be like a legit bowl. High wall bowl. Cool, I like that. It's a mystery to me where that tool went. You guys probably saw it fall and know right where it is. I'm gonna go wide here because the shape, this next shape, is a little more bowl-like. A little more. I probably shouldn't have done that much. So this one is done. Yeah, I did that too much. Let's call it this in just a hair, because I like it to be more tapered than the profile rib, because you want to be introducing that just little by little to the profile. You don't want it like touching the top at the same time as touching the bottom, or it's going to buckle. Last but not least, this one just kind of comes straight up. And this has kind of a real sharp foot down here. And off real easy. There it is. All right, so let's get these. I'm going to take photographs of these guys for you so you can see exactly what we're dealing with here. Ooh. And just real quick, just so you know, when I'm cutting these off, I'll wait till these get leather hard to where I can like touch the side and it's not going to leave a fingerprint. And then I'll put it back on. Let's just pretend this is this one. I'll put it back on. It's leather hard. And I'll take a tool like this cutoff tool and I'll put it right here and I'll spin it and then I'll just move it like that. This is a special cutoff tool from Simon Leach, and it's just fishing wire that's wrapped in like a helix pattern, like a spiral pattern, and it produces this beautiful wood-like, grain-like pattern on the bottom of the vessel that doesn't have to be trimmed. It's just beautiful. You couldn't make anything prettier than that, and then you just kind of thumb off the edges. He taught me that when he did a workshop here in Waco, and I've done it ever since because I just love the base, and it removes a whole step of trimming, adding a whole step to your pot. So taking a whole step off your pot. So yeah, I'll photograph these and you'll get to see what it is that we shot today, what it is that these Byllstore ribs can do.